What's up, everybody? Happy Sunday. Welcome to the Canes Insight Podcast, brought to you by Anishar and Levine Accident Attorneys. I spent the whole morning, afternoon over at OT7 in Fort Lauderdale, St. Thomas Aquinas. This is like the national championship of 7-on-7. Some of the best prospects in the country on hand. As you can tell, I didn't bring my sunscreen. I'm looking pretty red there, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. Saw a lot of great Canes prospects. Of course, Darian Coleman, the quarterback, a lot of good quarterbacks on hand there. Saw some great receiver targets for the Canes this year and beyond, including commits, defensive backs. I mean, 7-on-7. So, it's not exactly popping pads, but you see athleticism, you see body types, you see kind of demeanors. And I found over the years, it gets a bad rap. It's fun to watch, first of all, but it gets a bad rap for like evaluation purposes. And I think if you put it in the right context, you actually do learn a lot in this setting, just from a competitiveness standpoint, the way guys move around, kind of the way guys interact, who steps up in the different times. I found a lot of that actually does translate when you go and watch these guys play out their high school careers. First, I want to talk about some folks who they don't need to develop too much, man. They're right at the top of the heap when it comes to what they do. That's Anishar and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anishar and Levine. Chat's already on fire. Got some of the old reliables there. Clutch, what's going on? Canes Cat's talking about choke job. Not sure exactly who choked, who he's talking about there. Faith Family Football is saying, what's up? The event's still going. Amari Stevens playing right now. Yeah, I know. I had to get this one out. Amari Stevens, I was able to see him perform earlier, but I think he's really the only Cane target commit still going. So I figured we'd get this one out now. Andrew saying, good. Welcome break from the U.S. soccer game. Was that the choke right there? Maybe that was the joke he's talking about. Race to talk about Devin Jackson leading Oregon. Larry Miles, a lot of that talk. Jalen Jones, I'll get to him. John Z, my guy, Titans ticket anytime I want to come to Nashville. I'll pick you up on that, man. Great city, great state. Coach Avant Donaldson saying, D-Money's building an army of 15-year-olds from Kentucky. Yeah, shout out to Camden Burton, man. He's going to do some edits for us. Excited to have him on the team. Oh, Canes Cat saying Team Raw blowing a 21-7 lead is the choke. I mean, I think the refs had a lot to do with that. And, 7-on-7, man, is crazy. We'll talk about all of it in a second. First, let me start with the biggest takeaway I had of the whole tournament before we start getting into players and teams and everything else. And that is Bryson Wright out of Jacksonville Mandarin, class of 28. I heard he's 14 years old. He looks about 18, physically mature player, probably the best player I saw in any of the games, period, including 5-star players that are going into their senior years. You're going to hear over the next, few years about this guy being the next Jeremiah Smith. And I think it's going to be, look, who knows how this thing all plays out, but there's a reason you're hearing it. It's not just media stuff. I mean, this guy was absolutely unbelievable for Raw Miami. Bryson Wright out of Jacksonville Mandarin. Pull up his 247 page right now. I mean, he literally probably the only person his age that has a page. 6'2.5", 200. I would say that's accurate, or, maybe less than what he is right now out of Mandarin. You see the schools offered him, Ohio State, Texas. I mean, this guy's all over the place. Look at his stats. It's 31 catches, 646 yards, 8 touchdowns in 11 games for Jacksonville Mandarin. That's a program up there in Jacksonville, alma mater of one Carson Beck, a lot of other players. So today he was absolutely outstanding. It was great yesterday too, but we're talking about one-handed catches in the back of the end zone, contested catches all over the place. He was the guy for every team. Calvin Russell had a great day, and we'll talk about him a little later. But in terms of the guy, if you took a random person to OT7 with all these 5 stars and said, hey, point to the best player on the field, in my opinion, they're going to point to Bryson Wright. He just looked the part. He carried himself like he was the best player, and he made play after play. He was clearly the go-to guy. Let's pull up just one of these here just so you get an idea of what I'm talking about. This was today, and there's really just one of many plays that he made. But, I mean, there he is right there. You see, he doesn't look like a 14-year-old going over the top, getting both feet in. He was making catches on the back of the end zone on the sideline, and there were NFL catches. He was getting both feet in while also making contested catches. Had a one-handed catch, like I said, for a touchdown. and really was just the guy. First thing I noticed is just the size. I mean, he really is a strong kid, 14 years old. I don't know how much growing he has left to do. He's got the mustache and the beard already. If there's any, criticism, and it's not really a criticism, it's just that, hey, I don't know if I project him going forward to gain it. Like Jeremiah Smith at that age was not as physically advanced. So he kind of grew more physically, whereas this guy, I think, is kind of where he's at. But, I mean, the way he's playing at this age, it's not just the size, it's not just the way he looks or the way he runs. I mean, he's catching the ball with his hands full speed, going across the middle, not losing a step. He's going up and get it like you saw up there. I mean, consistently doing that. He's pushing guys off. I mean, he is a very physical receiver. It's not like he's just all finesse, and if you get an older, physically mature defensive back and they get physical with him, he's out of the game. I mean, if someone gets physical with him, they're going on the ground. I saw him push grown men, but let's say seniors, rising seniors that are getting Division I offers. I mean, they try to get physical with him, and he was just literally throwing them to the ground. So the physicality, the hands catching, he can run, he's quick. He's a kid. I mean, and he was, he's talking and doing all that, but he was serious about what he was doing out there. He definitely cared about winning. So, look, where's it going to go? Who knows? I mean, this kid, he's so young, he doesn't know anything. He can't even drive. So I don't know if he's thinking about too much right now. But he is going to be a player. We'll pull up his high school highlights that we're talking about for years. And, if you compare him to a Noel Devine is someone I can think of that we talked about at this same age, like those 14-year-old kids that you watch for their whole career. Sony Michel, who ended up being a first-round pick. I think the thing with him, Sony Michel, I think is probably a better comp, obviously different position and all that, just in terms of the trajectory of their careers, because Sony Michel had the physical stuff. Noel Devine, although a very good player, was small. I mean, this guy, he has the size right now to be a 5-star player in this class without gaining without projecting anything. Here you see him. These are highlights. Again, Jacksonville Mandarins are a real program. They put a lot of guys in the next level in college. I believe they had a few pros recently. Again, Carson Beck, probably the best of the bunch. But you see the route running there. He's not just a one-trick pony. I saw him change directions. I saw him. There you see him right there. He lays out for the ball. Hassan asking, they say he could be a Jeremiah Smith player. Is that true? 100% I think it's true. And Jeremiah Smith's the best I've seen since Andre Johnson. And I would say, yeah, the hype is real here. Now, look, he can get injured. He can stall his development. I would say, again, the one thing if you ask me and look at right there, is that's what this play right here, that's what he did all day, is just catching it over the middle, but not slowing down or gearing down. Once he catches it over the middle, he's gearing up and eating up yards with long strides and just suddenness. He has long strides, but he's not a long strider. He's sudden and he's strong. There's a lot of horsepower. That's probably the most similar to Jeremiah Smith, is the combination of being tall and strong, but also having that horsepower and that acceleration. I think that's one thing you see with Jeremiah Smith. You see him right there making guys miss, keeping his balance. He did that a few times where he'd be falling down, keep his balance and power through just with leg strength. Again, those are the type of plays where I really do see a Jeremiah Smith comparison. The difference, I would say, is at this age, Bryson Wright is better than Jeremiah Smith was, but Jeremiah Smith, I think, developed more just because of Jeremiah Smith wasn't as he was not as physically developed at the same age. So Jeremiah Smith had more room to grow, whereas Bryson Wright, he just looks older at this age, looks stronger, looks physically more advanced. So I have a hard time seeing Bryson Wright getting too much bigger and stronger. Obviously, he's going to develop. He's a young kid, but if he does get bigger and stronger, I mean, I don't even know what's going to happen. But he didn't need to get too much bigger. I mean, he's college ready right now from his frame standpoint. Numerous touchdowns yesterday for Team Raw, numerous touchdowns today. You're watching these highlights. Look, this IMG. I mean, this is a pretty good competition right here. I guarantee you this defensive back is a real dude, and he was able to stack him a little bit. But yeah, I think this highlight reel is just the tip of the iceberg based on what I saw. He was the best player on the field, and that field included, some of the best players in the country. On his team alone, he had Calvin Russell, who was great and did his thing, and he really was the guy. Quantavious Lyons Jr. Yeah, there were a few guys on Raw that were doing work. We'll talk about them in a second, but yeah. So Jerry had this is Jerry Williamson, had Neiman Lawrence as his number 1 8th grader last year. Number 2 is Amir Sears, who we'll talk about in a second. Number 3 is Steve Moore from Central. All those are South Florida guys. I'm guessing Bryson Wright being the Jacksonville guy was on the list. Talk about class. This could be incredible down the road. That's one of them. Bryson's already been to Miami. Good sign for the Canes. You know Ohio State's going to be there. But look, here's the good news. If you're a Miami fan, he's on a South Florida Express. He's on Team Raw. So Team Raw has a much better track record of sending guys to the University of Miami than Ohio State. We saw Cam Kitchens was coaching him up today. DJ Ivey, 2 Canes on that coaching staff, and they came through that program. Different name at the time, but basically came through the same program. So off to a good start with that. We'll see how it all goes. But yeah, my big takeaway from this entire day was I wanted to see if the hype was real. And just seeing this guy in warmups, the hype looked real. And you see it right here. Hands catcher, strong, good routes. Jeremiah Smith comp is 100% valid with Bryson Wright. Canes Cat saying Team Raw is our team, baby. Yeah, listen, I was out there rooting hard for Team Raw. We'll talk about what happened there in a second. But they did advance further than the South Florida Express, that's for sure. South Florida Express was at home today. Team Raw was still playing. Really should still be playing. I know they're disappointed that they weren't able to get this done. You see, by the way, his quarterback, I believe it's Trammell Jones, who is going to Florida. But yeah, Team Raw had a chance. Certainly, there was a very, and we'll get to the whole game, but there was a very, very questionable offensive pass interference call on Bryson Wright. Where Bryson Wright, they're getting physical with him. He was the stronger player, threw the guy, scored a touchdown. Not only did they take the touchdown off the board, they called it offensive pass interference. And really, that was the play of the game. If that goes Team Raw's way, you're talking about the game being over, basically, for Team Raw, or at least close to it. Ends up going to OT with a very tough, low pro team, and not getting it done. But shout out to Team Raw. They went further than South Florida Express. I know that makes them feel good. There might have been a little scuffle or two on the sideline. A lot of scuffles, actually, overall. We'll talk about all that. But Bryson Wright, my big takeaway, next Jeremiah Smith, I could see that. We were talking about Bryson Wright for a long, long time. All right, some other stuff there we'll talk about Team Raw, or Raw Miami, because they had a lot of prospects. Diabell, who's going to Texas, every bit worth the hype, man. He was outstanding. And I've seen him in pads, I've seen him in camps, I've seen him in this setting. So it's not just like one exposure point to him, but we don't talk about it a lot because he's not going to Miami, right? He's going to Texas. But I think Diabell's one guy that his rating accurately reflects what he's going to be as a player, or at least where he is right now, in my opinion. Just very polished, great size, has that basketball background, but is a legit pocket quarterback, true passer. That's his style. Very good in terms of his fakes and all the things that he does. He can drive the ball, can layer the ball, good balance, always kind of under control, almost casual. But we saw that with Cam Moore. That doesn't mean he's being lazy. So Diabell, really, that was another one of my big takeaways, man, is that Diabell is the real deal. Not just because he did great here. I'm sure he'll probably win the Alpha Dog, win 2-4-7 and on 3, get this thing all set up if Bryson Wright doesn't win it. But I get very impressed with the Texas commit. South Florida really has been, when South Florida produces a quarterback that has a certain amount of height to him and has legitimate power for interest, those guys tend to do pretty well, man. You talk about Mendoza, talk about CJ Bailey just in the last year, going all the way back to Geno Smith, Bridgewater, Jacoby Brissett, of course, Lamar Jackson. There's not that many tall guys coming out of here that go to the Power 4 level and have that kind of ability. But when they do, man, they usually perform at a pretty high level. So I think Diabell will be the next South Florida quarterback, which is this is not Florida, or sorry, this is not Texas. This is not like the hub of quarterbacks. But I think South Florida quarterbacks are underrated when they reach a certain level, and I think Diabell definitely is over that level. So Faith Family Football, I know you were out there, man, because I see your comments in the chat. He's saying, I didn't know there was a 2029 kid out there. Sheesh. Yeah, he's unreal. He's 2028, but someone told me she skipped a grade. I couldn't even believe that. We'll see. But, Team Raw, more takeaways. Again, I mentioned Diabell. Calvin Russell caught a lot of touchdowns from Diabell, including where Diabell got out of the pocket and just threw an absolute dime into the back of the end zone. Calvin Russell's wide open. Got that one done. It really picked up as the day went on. He's a really good player. It's funny because you compare him to Bryson Wright. One is a rising senior. One is the rising sophomore. But like the difference between the two is Bryson Wright, he go to college right now and has the body to do what he needs to do. Whereas Calvin Russell, much more underdeveloped physically. Just the size is different with Calvin Russell strength-wise. Kind of a thick, narrow shoulders, not that physically developed. But I say the same thing about JoJo Trader. I kind of have those guys ranked pretty similarly coming out of high school. Solid, high 4-star kind of guys, but I can't put them in that elite class just because you're projecting some size to come on him. Where if he does gain weight and he plays basketball, so you got to watch that how that all interplays. But if Russell gains weight, gets that core strength up, tightens up his route running, which is not because he's lazy or anything, but he's playing another sport. If he can really tighten up the craft and get stronger, you're looking at a day 1, day 2 pick. He's explosive. He plays hard. You can tell he likes playing. He's not out there with a diva attitude at all. That's not what I've observed. He's very much a competitor. You can tell he plays sports all year round competitively. Very smooth, hands catcher, a lot to like with Calvin Russell, and he played really, really well today. It's going to be all, to me, with him, just about gaining weight, just getting stronger. Same with JoJo Trader with the Canes. They got to be able to just handle that contact, particularly with just their balance and core strength. I think that's the key element with those guys. And then Calvin Russell, maybe the extra layer. He hasn't played a ton of receiver, former quarterback, basketball player. If he could really refine his craft, which probably will happen as basketball maybe becomes less of a priority and football becomes more of a priority, I think he'd be a really, really good player. So good showing for Calvin Russell for Team Raw. Other guys that impress on Team Raw, Blake Stewart, the safety from Atlanta, Miami Clemson battle. Michigan's in there too. I talked to some of my people about him today from Miami. Clemson's been getting the momentum with the crystal balls. Miami at different times thought they were going to get him. So the momentum's kind of shifted back and forth. I can tell you Miami is going hard at Blake Stewart, man. They want him badly. They're not just saying, we'll give him away. I mean, they are really, really hot on Blake Stewart. And I understand why. He's one of my favorite players. Goes to a good school in Atlanta, good academic kind of school. Clemson, Michigan, they can get guys like this that just, you don't have to worry about them off the field. And then on the field, they're really, really talented. He had a great play in the back of the end zone on a 4th down to really help Raw win their first game today. Just a key pass breakup. He looks the part, strong, well put together. He's not like huge like Devin Jackson, who we'll get to in a second, but definitely size not going to be a problem for him. Very athletic, instinctual. I just like the whole package. I think he's going to be a safe player. I can see why Clemson is on that type of player. So Blake Stewart, we'll see. Miami again. They're not going out on. They're definitely not conceding that one. They're going hard after Blake Stewart. Yeah, I did forget to put the sunscreen on, man. I'm trying to get my tan going, so I usually let it settle before going on, but I figured I had to get this one out before. So, yeah, Blake Stewart was good. Another guy on Team Raw, younger player, Amir Sears. Let's pull up his film now because Amir Sears is one of these younger guys that, similar to Bryson Wright, he's a class of 2029. That can't be right because he was a freshman this year. Someone correct me in the comments. It says class of 2029, but I'm pretty sure he was a freshman this year, Amir Sears. So, let me know if I'm getting that wrong. But anyways, we'll get that video ready in a second. But Amir Sears, safety, really, really talented guy. Not as physically put together as Bryson Wright. He's not as strong. He's actually quite skinny, but he was moving around very, very well. Had a tipped interception. Twitchy as can be. Just a lanky, twitchy safety. They're saying 2028. That's what I thought. Yeah, 2028 for Sears. And he is going to be a monster target just based on what I saw here at OT7s. So again, this is the national championships of 7-on-7. Let's pull up Amir Sears film. But he was fun to watch. I thought really, really looked good as we watch it here. I think he's playing safety. I had heard there was some question about whether it be a safety, whether it be a linebacker, where he'd end up. He looked 100% like a safety to me. You see him here. Just this is exactly how he was playing today. Just very sudden in his movements. Very, very good. Change of direction. Smooth. Just a really, really talented guy. Oh, there's Johnny Lagoon. Asking for a shout out for his birthday. Happy birthday, Johnny. You're the man. You're a key part of this whole operation. Appreciate you. Oh, there we go. Amir Sears playing some offense. He only played defense today and had a huge interception that he tipped to himself. Almost had a big sack as well. Just very, very sudden in his movements. And I mean, look, you're watching the highlights here. This is South Florida. This is real South Florida football. He's out here returning kicks, returning interceptions. This is going to be one of the names. This whole class, man, these freshmen last year between Bryson Wright, Amir Sears, and Neiman Lawrence from Ransom, who's now at Northwestern, you're talking about some of the best freshmen that we have seen in a while. Didn't see Neiman Lawrence today. I know he is a South Florida Express quarterback. He was there yesterday. I wasn't able to make it out yesterday. But I've seen him before. He's very, very, very gifted. But man, this is just an incredible group. And Amir Sears is right there. I think really, truly, if you're talking about developmental upside, I think this could be a guy right now. Bryson Wright, again, the size, the fit, the college ready frame. He's ahead of where Amir Sears. I don't think Amir Sears can go to college right now and play. He probably weighs like 160, 70 pounds. But in terms of guys that can, by the time that they're seniors, could be an incredible problem, I'm putting this guy in that category. You see him there. He's aggressive, packs a punch for being a little guy. And little, I mean, when I say little, I mean weight, because he's tall and lanky. He's not like 5'10". He looked to me like about 6 foot easily with long arms. So very, very excited about this player. I think you're going to be talking about probably him, Lawrence, and Bryson Wright all as 5-star players. Kevin Dennis saying he played at West Broward with Moore. You mean Josh Moore. He was a freshman Moore senior year. So that's a good connection. And again, who's coaching him in the defensive backfield? Camp Kitchens, DJ Ivy, Malachi Tony, another Team Raw Miami product was out there. Amari Wallace, another Raw Miami product was out there. So these are all guys very tight with the Miami program. They're in the Miami program or graduated from the Miami program. And they're all intertwined with this Raw Miami program. So you want these phenoms on that team, and certainly that'll help. It's not guaranteed. I mean, I don't think Calvin Russell is going to commit to Miami right away. At least I could be surprised. Obviously Diabell's going to Texas, so it's not like you go to Raw Miami, you're going to the Canes, but it's a good place to start for sure. Hassan's saying, I hope Miami offered Bryce Wright yesterday. I think they have offered Bryce Wright and Amir Sears, I believe. So I think both of them have gotten offers. They're very much, and I know Miami is well aware of both of these guys. These guys aren't sleepers. I mean, you're looking at these highlights, man. This is a freshman's highlights, and when he's got about 25 pounds to gain, or 20 pounds to gain, I think, still in high school before he even gets to college level. But when that weight comes on, he is going to be a complete. I mean, he already is a force, but he's going to be even more a force. Look at his physicality, not afraid to close. Just that, what you see here in the film, the twitchiness and suddenness. I think, truthfully, he played safety for Team Raw, but seeing him here and seeing just how he moves, I wouldn't say corner's out of the question. I really wouldn't. Probably safety is where the smart money is, but you see him here at corner. I don't think that's out of the question. We'll see what ultimately happens for Team Raw. So a couple other guys I wanted to get to from Raw before we move on to Darren Coleman and some other guys. Jalen Jones, the safety we just got committed from in the class of 27. He's at Western. Now he's at MacArthur. A lot of comparisons to Cam Kitchens. Cam Kitchens, like I said, was out there. He was actually playing corner, was Jones. And on a play in the red zone, I think Kane's Cat was talking about in the chat a little while ago. There was a play in the end zone where it was compressed, that it was only like 10 yards to go. They were trying to jam it in there, and he was trailing, and he sped up and intercepted the ball going out of bounds. And the refs called it out. It looked to me like it was an inbound, game-changing interception. And he got it clean, and he closed on it beautifully. It's just a question, were his feet in bounds? And again, I thought they were. It was a very close play. But seeing that closing speed from Jalen Jones, who's playing corner but projects as the safety in college, very, very impressive. We watched this film when he committed. You see the Cam Kitchens comparisons all day. They're just with the ball hawking ability, the size, the way he kind of can diagnose things, just moves and carries himself like Cam Kitchens. I've heard that comparison from coaches at Raw Miami. They've had Cam Kitchens. They've had Amari Wallace, so they've had some of these Miami safeties, and they think he's right there in that mix. Bryce Fitzgerald as well as this program. So they think Jones is right in the mix. Big commitment for Miami in the class of 27 and looked good today at corner, which is not, his main position. Anyone else on Raw Miami I should be talking about Jalen Waters, man. Jalen Waters, unbelievable, man. I am a huge fan of Jalen Waters. His length stands out right away when you watch him. He is tall. He looks every bit of 6'1", 6'2", long arms. And I knew he could move at corner. We talked about him. He's been, Miami has him really high on the board. I personally have him as a pretty high-ranking player in this class. The thing that you don't know until you're around them, and I saw him at this same event earlier last year. And I saw him at another 7-on-7 event for Raw. And, you could tell he was good, and I liked him there as well. I thought he was better than Flowers, who ended up going to Florida. But the thing that I saw this time was he really ran the show back there as far as, like, keeping guys in check, not just talking to the receivers, which he did a lot of that too, but just making sure that everybody was in the right place, everybody was communicating, everybody knew what their assignments were. He was very much engaged. He was trying to cover the top receiver for his opponent, Madden Williams, in the first game, who's committed to Texas A&M, one of the best receivers in the country. And, he couldn't track him the whole way because that's just not how the defense was set up, but he tried to get that matchup as much as he could. And when he got that matchup, he was very successful. There he is, Faith Family Football saying seatbelt was nice for Raw too. That's Jalen Seatbelt Waters. When they were having trouble, he had to man up the opposing team's number one wide receiver. That's absolutely right. Yeah, which the number one receiver for them was Madden Williams out of St. John Bosco in California, headed to Texas A&M. He's looking at his ranking. He's number 39 wide receiver in the country. He's way better than that. That's how about an underrated guy, Madden Williams. Look him up. Commit to Texas A&M, 4-star. He should be way higher. That guy was a real good player, real good size, knew what he was doing. I have no idea why that guy was not rated higher. Yeah, Naeem Burrows was out there, committed to Clemson from Tampa. He did really good at the Under Armour All-American game too. There were a lot of really good players out there, man. It was a tremendous event. So switching gears from Raw to some other teams and the players that caught my attention. I mentioned Madden Williams going to Texas A&M. He was really, really good. Darian Coleman, before I talk about him, so he had a weird setup because on his team, there were really two very good quarterbacks, him being one of them. Also, they had Trey Taylor, who's from Illinois, committed to Nebraska. And this is a guy who, on the composites, the number 53 overall player in the country, number 5 quarterback in the class. So, a much higher rated player than Coleman, just at least in terms of the rankings. Big guy, man. I was impressed. So the game I went to, because Coleman played, his team played today twice. I went to the first game. Second game I watched on YouTube. And the game I went to, Trey Taylor really got the majority of the snaps. They both played a lot, but Trey Taylor had the majority of the snaps. Candidly in that game, he looked better. Just a strong guy, drove the ball, really, really played well. Had some moments that weren't as good, but he really, really played well. The second game, the one that in the later round, which his team lost in overtime, not because of anything he did. He scored the go-ahead score, and then the other team scored, or he scored the tying score, and then the other team scored against Low Pro, which is like a team of like Polynesian kids, like not 5-star prospects, but they practice 7-on-7, and they always win these things. It's a real interesting team to watch, Low Pro. They're beating like teams full of 5-stars, and they're just like, average-sized Polynesian kids that can ball and have really good chemistry. But anyways, Nick Canino saying this makes sense. The Trey Taylor's a class of 27. So that makes sense. But he was impressive, man. Trey Taylor, the quarterback for Nebraska, the Nebraska commit. He was very, very impressive. Big kid, pro style. But then, like I said, Coleman played more than him in the second game and made some unbelievable throws to Larry Miles, his favorite slot receiver. That's a slot receiver, Orlando Jones. I can't show you on here because it was on NFL Network, so they'll hit me with a copyright. Just go to CanesInsight.com, 7.4 million posts in county. By the way, like and subscribe to the show. We got almost 1,300 on that. I always forget to say it. Like and subscribe to the show. We're giving you news every single day. We think we've been on every single day the past 2 weeks, including weekends, multiple times with commits, with everything else. So like and subscribe to this show if you want updates on absolutely everything. Again, I was just at this event. That's why I look so red. But yeah, so Coleman in the second game had a throw to Larry Miles that was unreal down the field. Go watch that on YouTube. It's on Canes Insight. You can just check us out there, and we'll have a clip of that play. But great arm talent, very twitchy release, just quick release. Got the big hand, so he just kind of flicks it. But yeah, just his team had two really good quarterbacks, so they rotated. He was wearing the Cam Ward jersey because the quarterbacks a lot of times will wear different jerseys than everybody else. Like Diabell wasn't dressed like the rest of Raw Miami. The Nebraska kid, Trey Taylor, was wearing a red shirt. Coleman chose to wear the Cam Ward jersey, the number 1 authentic, good looking shirt to represent. Ian Coleman saying that Darren Cole was added to the team last. He's a DEF CON kid. That's right. So politics and all that. But I will say, I mean, to be truthful, the guy looked good, Trey Taylor. It wasn't a situation where you're watching the team like, man, it's just, why is this guy playing over Coleman? That guy looked like whatever he's rated, top 50 player in the country. He looked good. But Coleman looked good too. And particularly in the second game that was on TV. You can check that out on YouTube. Kane's guy asking, are college coaches allowed to go to OT7? I didn't see any. I don't think they are. By the way, almost 1,300 on. Like and subscribe to this show. Brother Jay saying, young pup still needs development and teaching and training. No question about it. And some size. And just go into the system. Brandon saying, what's going on with Devin Jackson? Crystal ball to Oregon. What are we doing at safety with no Stewart and Jackson? Look, crystal balls, they're not nothing. But again, we saw Jackson Cantwell get crystal ball to Georgia, just to use a recent example. So I wouldn't put all my stock there. They're working with these guys. And we'll see how it all develops. But Devin Jackson, the player, again, we talked about Blake Stewart earlier, really impressed with him. Devin Jackson, the player, he had 2 interceptions. He was on the same team as Coleman. This year, safety out of Orlando, 4-star, Florida decommit. Miami really wants to get this guy. Will Harris, who recruited to Florida, has been recruiting him to Miami. Big. Seen him in person. Devin Jackson is huge, man. He's a big safety. He looks really like a linebacker, just physically. You know, if you're just walking around, you probably think a linebacker for him. Not that he moves like that, just size-wise at a high school level. He looks well over 200 pounds, 6'2". Size was big. That was kind of that great English right there. Size was big. But yeah, with him, size is a big part of his evaluation. Athleticism, he's got that. He made 2 interceptions. These were like Hail Mary type plays, so it wasn't like some of these other interceptions. I saw Joey O'Brien, the safety commit for tennis for Notre Dame, who's like 6'5" and skinny, but an unbelievable athlete. He had a pick to win the game, which was really spectacular. He's going to be like another Kyle Hamilton for Notre Dame. Remember that name, Joey O'Brien. But Jackson's picks, again, Hail Marys, but nice plays, going up and getting it. He said, yeah, we do need Devin Jackson. Him or Blake Stewart. You don't get either of those two, you're not feeling great. Now, Tyreek Green, the safety from Buford, who Miami has been on, who visited in the spring, came back for an official visit. Georgia's really hot after Tyreek Green from Buford. Put him in that category too. You got to get at least one of those guys, preferably 2 if you're really cooking. But those are some guys you want. Yeah, I know Nick Lanier didn't play. Nick Lanier is on Team Raw Miami. He was at the last event I was at where I saw Jalen Waters. He was there and played really well. But these things, like, people miss for different reasons, like, they have conflicts or they get injured. So actually, you know what? He's injured. That's what it is. Nick Lanier is injured. He played at the last week's event. So he pleaded something, but he got hurt. He was on Instagram, I think, with like a bum ankle. Nothing serious. But I think, yeah, I'd heard Nick Lanier was hurt from his 7-on-7 coach Duasso. Shout out to Coach Duasso, man. One of these days we'll go get you on here holding that trophy for OT7. I know he's kind of bummed, but I know he's also happy that they got further than South Florida Express. And you got to rub it in a little bit with them. But Devin Jackson was impressive. I mentioned Coleman. Really, if you want to see what he can do, watch that second game. It's on YouTube. It was against Low Pro. That's the game you want to see on YouTube for Darren. If you want to see Darren Coleman in action, didn't play as much in that first game for the reasons that I described. And it makes sense what people are saying in the comments, which is that, like some of these guys, they're on lesser teams or teams that aren't going as far. They get eliminated or don't get to the OT7 invite level. And then they will jump on another team so they can play. And they, obviously help out they help out the player, help out the team. Who else looked good? I mentioned Joey O'Brien. Yeah, the Notre Dame commit, 5-star, great interception. Oh, Amari Stevens. Let's talk about him. So Amari Stevens, who's playing now, right? It's on Cam Newton's team, I believe. Let me know in the comments. I'm not watching that. Obviously, I'm recording this. Let me know how they did. But yeah, Amari Stevens, as you see right here, another 2027 kid, American Heritage, who was at St. Thomas last year. 4-star commit for the Canes. Number 31 receiver in the country on 24/7. Number 25 receiver on the 247 composite. And watching him, what jumps out, the speed, right? He's not a big guy, so his height was fine. I didn't see real issues with his height, but I will say that he does lack some strength. Oh, Kevin Dennis is saying he's at Miami Edison now. Oh, Edison's loading up. I know they got Michael Clayton, the Illinois quarterback commit from Orlando. They need like an Athlon Sports for high school to keep up with all these transfers. It's insane how much movement there is. I was just going off his 247, which said Heritage, and of course you see him here at St. Thomas. But he was playing with Cam Newton 7-on-7 team when I saw him. Did a really nice job, caught a touchdown, hands catcher, just really, really fast, really sudden. Got just you see the peace sign. Speed's his game, height's fine, long arms. It's going to be about adding weight. That's going to be what really allows him to go to the next level, because he is skinny right now. Look, 27, so he's got time. But that was my big takeaway from him. But you see, he's a good receiver. He has hands. He had good hands today when I saw him. He was not just like a track guy running around. Looks like a football player that just happens to run 4.3. He can change directions. As you see there, he tracked the ball. He can change directions. He can do his thing. So I was overall impressed with Amari Stevens, and he played well. But I will say, weight is when you see these guys in person, you kind of see how far away they are. I saw Malachi Tony for Raw at the same age before he reclassed, and you weren't worried about him gaining weight. I think Amari Stevens, different deal, but the speed is there. Conspiracy saying, I left CIS a long time ago, but I came back when you were at D Street and the Villains. Respect. Yeah. Again, great guys. Streeter's the man. I'm going to text him actually when I get off the show, because we got to get him back on the show. He's an awesome guest, man. He's a media pro, and he's been around the block. He's got a great perspective. So really, really enjoy having Streeter on, and when I'm able to go on his show as well. Wall Street Guru out there. I need to ask him for some stock advice as well. Yeah, but here you see Amari Stevens. It's against Chaminade. Clearly a huge game in Pitbull Stadium. So, he's been productive. He's going to be productive no matter where he's at. You see him returning as well. Kind of looks like Travis Benjamin, actually. So if I'm describing his frame, Travis Benjamin, and maybe it's the dreads, but I really do think just with the long arms, not being too short, but being skinny, and then the speed and the quickness. I do see some Travis Benjamin with Amari Stevens. Now, even though Amari Stevens runs 4.3, Travis Benjamin's speed just felt like next level. He was so fast. Even in the pros, he bounced around for a long time just because he was so fast. It's hard to compete with that. But I do see some Travis Benjamin here in Amari Stevens in all facets. Over 1,400 on you. Like and subscribe. Yeah, comments are talking about some of the results. At 24K, which is Darian Coleman's team, lost 31-7. So both Darian Coleman's team and Raw Miami got eliminated by the same team, which is Low Pro. Both of them were like the last play, literally, where they lost. So extremely close games. But Low Pro they're not a 5-star factory. All these teams have like a ton of 5-star guys from all over the country. Low Pro is like a bunch of Polynesian kids that they're not only Polynesian. I think they've diversified over the years, but they're just like, they practice all the time. They have a whole fan base. They constantly win these events, and they practice 7-on-7. All these other teams kind of just show up and play ball with great talent. These guys have plays. They know what they're doing. Not that these other teams don't have great coaches. It's just, they don't have the team together that much. You kind of bring them together. Whereas these guys, man, they're a machine. So really, really impressed with what they do. And that they win a lot. I'm not watching right now, but I bet they win this one. Faith Family saying Darian played his butt off. He did. His last play was a touchdown to, I believe, Larry Miles to tie it. And then Low Pro went and scored in the last minute. You can't do that much. Appreciate you, Jews, for post the stream. Yeah, share the stream. You'll get people on Twitter checking it out. Conspiracy. You Momentum, You Movement, and Humanati. You already know. Peace. I'll check you out there. Look at this. You got 3 great usernames, man. Save some for the rest of the people, man. You got 4 of them that everybody has. Sam B saying, can't wait to see Darion's highlights. They'll be posted on Canes Insight. Just go on the recruiting forum and you'll see all the stuff he did. Don't forget, they got the 4-star Oregon commit at 6'5", Jet Washington, Kobe Bryant's nephew. Yeah, no, they got talent. They had some talented dudes, more so than the past. In the past, it was really all just kind of, good high school players, maybe lower level D1 guys. Now they have upgraded their talent, but it's still not what, SFE or Raw is top to bottom talent-wise, but they win, so who cares? Sam B saying, Tristan, guys, the guy Miami needs. Yeah, definitely. He is a complete stud. He is he's the true 5-star of this class. There's no question about it. We need him. Yeah, there you go. We're talking about saying all Hawaiian kids and 1 5-star safety in Jet Washington for low pro, man. They're fun to watch. Kevin Dennis saying we need Jones and Lanier. I'm guessing you mean, is that Jaron Jones who's committed? Or Jalen Jones, I'm sorry. Both Team Raw guys, right? Him and Nick Lanier. So hopefully that works out. And then here you have Amari Stevens committed from 2027. So plenty of guys. Bagging up Jordan, he's saying, yeah, Russell got busy a little bit too, though. Yeah, listen, Russell was great. We talked about it. I think Russell's a real dude, and I like his attitude. I like how he carries himself. I don't think he's a diva, really, or anything like that. He just needs to gain weight. I put him in the same bucket as JoJo Trader. If those guys can gain weight and really tighten up their craft, the sky's the limit because they have length, they can run, they can change directions, they're smooth catching the ball, they have good instincts. I like all those guys. They just need some weight. Yeah, so it's Faye family saying he got active. He has things you can't coach: size, the length. Now, one thing I do worry about him with is his frame. When you see him in person, he's not like some guys are lanky and you're like, that weight's going to come on. They got like those coat hanger shoulders. You're like, the weight's going to come on. With Russell, he's a little just narrow and thin. But number one, I think he's shown physicality playing football, so I don't think he's like soft in any way. In fact, the opposite. He plays basketball hard too, gets a lot of rebounds. And I think playing basketball might be keeping him skinny. So when he really focuses on gaining weight, I think you could talk about a day 1, day 2 pick. He really does have a lot of talent. Sansei, Miami needs Cooper Keys and Devin Jackson. We can't let these guys go to different schools. Listen, man, there's only one way to do that, and that's canesconnection.com/CIS, which we'll talk about in a second. But this Amari Stevens, man, this is a long highlight reel for a dude at St. Thomas. He was really, really productive for these guys. I'm surprised they couldn't keep him. He was there today. He had a little fan base there. The event was at St. Thomas. I'm surprised they couldn't keep this guy because he is making a lot of plays for him. So shout out to Amari Stevens. This is a long highlight reel. How long is this thing? 9 minutes for Amari Stevens, and you see him traversing field. I might have underestimated this guy. Not that I didn't underestimate. I underestimated him. I just haven't talked about him that much because he's 27. But man, he is making a lot of plays and pads, and he looked good today. He's got room to grow. Faye family said, yeah, he did well for Cam Newton's team. I was like, by the way, Cam Newton, what a freak of nature that guy is. I mean, he is by far the biggest guy in that whole stadium, like by a lot. No one's even in his eye level with him, and he's big. It just shows you seeing him in a setting like that with all these 5 stars. And look, obviously he's a grown man, they're developing, but that dude was unreal. That Superman thing, that was a real thing. He had a interesting entourage. He had a girl walking with him, taping him and dancing around and stuff. He just had like a whole vibe. It was like he wasn't putting on a show, I would say. I'm not negative. It's just, there was definitely a star power to him and his group, and people knew he was there. But yeah, I was blown away by just there's a difference between him and some of these other guys walking around. But yeah, look at, man, Amari Stevens. Well done. Well done. He is making play after play. How'd they let this guy go? Good thing Miami didn't let him go. So yeah, a lot of fun guys to track going forward. And if you want to be getting players like Amari Stevens or going down the line of 2028, now sophomore film for Amari Stevens. But if you want to see, guys like Bryson Wright, right? Neiman Lawrence, Amir Sears. You want to see those guys become Canes. You want to keep a guy like Amari Stevens a Cane. It's got to be canesconnection.com/CIS. Make sure you use that /CIS. Get 20% off your first month, but you also are getting all the benefits, including the exclusive webinar that I'll be doing. I do it, pretty much bi-weekly. We'll send out a reminder for the next one, giving you information I'm getting straight from the sources that I cannot say in a public forum, but I say on those Zooms. Plus, I answer all your questions. That is at every single level. You have access to that Zoom. Of course, the more you have, the more you can give. Please do, because it all goes to the cause of improving Miami's talent level, that's why you're watching this podcast, man. That's what you care about the most, is getting Miami's talent level to where it needs to go. If you want to get a hat so you don't get sunburned like me when you're out here in the summer, MiamiHTS.com, Miami Hurricane Team Store across the street from the University of Miami. All in U-era hats, all the summer clothes, the Adidas, the shorts. Get your pet with look at the dog bowl, the leash, little jersey for your dog. Of course, the classic throwbacks if you want to remind your kids who the two best safeties you've ever seen are. Boom, right there, 20 and 26 with the championship, 2001 championship design. Use promo code INSIGHT20 online, or just say Canes Insight, Insight20 at the store. You get 20% off your first item. Insight20, 20% off your first item at the Miami Hurricane Team Store. All right, fellas. So we got Low Pro up 14-7 at halftime. Check that game out. See how that one ends. I think it's on NFL Network, I'm guessing. Shout out to Low Pro, man. What a great program. So, fun event. Anyone in South Florida, I recommend these OT7 events are easy to attend, easy to follow, fun to watch, and you see a lot of talent. So, a lot of future Canes in attendance. Shout out to Team Raw. We'll get them next year, and it's good. You passed South Florida Express. Now it's time to bring the whole thing home for the Miami family. Again, like and subscribe to the show. Almost 1,600 on a Sunday evening. I'll let you guys get back to your friends and family, TV, dog, whatever it is, man. I appreciate you. Like and subscribe to the show. I'll see you tomorrow morning on Canes Insight Daily. We'll see we got Pete in there. He'll be back finally on a regular schedule here next week, which we needed because my voice is getting shredded, rolling solo. But you guys in the chat make it a whole lot easier. So appreciate everybody listening, watching, liking and subscribing, sharing the stream. We appreciate you. Go Canes.